Hello. So we're going to now take a look today at the next part of chapter 10, which is 10.3 and 10.4. We're going to be taking a look at, first of all, intransitive verbs, and then when we should and when we shouldn't use the by phrase with the actor, right? Sometimes we will need to say, something was done by something. For example, this sweater was made by my aunt. But there are some instances where it sounds kind of strange to use the by phrase. For example, if I think I gave the example before, Toyotas are made in Japan, right? We don't say who the actor is. We don't say Toyotas are made by people in Japan, right? So we're gonna kind of clarify a lot of that, okay? So first things first. First things first, let's take a look at page 263. Okay, so go in your books to page 263. I'll go there as well. And look at exercise 8. Okay, so exercise 8, I have 5 sentences. Okay, which of these sentences have objects? Okay, and more specifically, which of these sentences have the object of the verb? Okay. So number 1, the tree fell over. Number 2, the tree hit the truck. Number 3, the tree fell on the truck. Fortunately, the driver didn't die. And number 5, the tree didn't kill the driver. So what do you guys think? Which ones have objects? Number 2, the tree hit the truck. What's the object? The truck. Number 5, the tree didn't kill the driver. The object would be the driver. And there's one more sentence with an object, which would be number 3, right? The tree fell on the truck. However, the object, which is the truck, is the object of the preposition, not the object of the verb. So I would only consider here 2 and 5, okay? So we're going to look at the box 10.3, which talks about transitive and intransitive verbs. Look at the definition in the box on the top right? A transitive verb is a verb that is followed by an object. An object is a noun or a pronoun, okay? So they have some examples. Bob mailed the letter, right? Mr. Lee signed the check. A cat killed the bird, right? All of these are objects, the letter, the check, the bird, of the verb here, okay? Now, some verbs which are intransitive, which means they do not take an object, right? They can have a prepositional phrase after, but they don't have an object directly following them, right? Something happened, right? Kate came to our house. The bird died, right? All of these verbs, it's really impossible actually to put an object after, okay? We have a list below of common intransitive verbs. I don't think we would include on the quizzes or the exams any intransitive verb that's not here. So it's a short list, so I would recommend memorizing it, okay? All right, so let's practice with this. We can just do this one together, okay? Exercise 9, right? We have 10 sentences and they want you to underline the verb and decide is it transitive or intransitive, okay? So why are we learning this? Why are we focusing on this? Because think about what is the implication? What is the implication if a verb is intransitive and it doesn't have an object, right? The implication in the context of studying the active voice and the passive voice. You can't make a sentence with an intransitive verb passive, right? The sentence, for example, Jill slept. Sleep is an intransitive verb, right? You couldn't say, for example, was slept, because there's no object, right? Remember, for that, to make the active voice passive, we need to move the object to the beginning of the sentence, and that becomes the new subject. But sentences with intransitive verbs don't have objects of the verb, so we cannot make it passive, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're going to look at exercise 9, and you're going to decide, is the verb transitive or intransitive? If it is intransitive, we have to leave it alone. However, if it is transitive, then we can make it passive, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so number 1, it says Omar walked to school yesterday. The verb is walked. Is walked transitive or intransitive? It is intransitive. It takes a prepositional phrase after, right? So we can't change it. NC means no change, okay? Alexa broke the window. Is this transitive or intransitive? Break. Break is transitive, so I could say the window was broken by Alexa. Okay, what about number 3? The leaves fell to the ground. Fell is intransitive, so we can't change it. How about number 4? I slept at my friend's house last night. Slept, also intransitive, no change. Number 5, many people felt an earthquake yesterday. Felt is transitive, so we would say an earthquake was felt by many people yesterday. Dinosaurs existed millions of years ago. Existed is intransitive, so we can't change it. Number 7, I usually agree with my sister. Agree is intransitive, so there's no change. Many people died during a war. Die is intransitive, no change. Scientists will discover a cure for cancer someday. Discover is transitive, so I can make it passive, right? A cure for cancer will be discovered by scientists one day. And number 10, did the Italians invent spaghetti? Invent is also transitive, so we can make it passive. Was spaghetti invented by the Italians? Okay? All right, that's fun, right? Transitive and intransitive, exciting stuff. All right, so we're going to look now at exercise 10. So this is interesting. They want you, you're obviously not going to work in teams, but they want you to make true sentences matching the information in column A with the information in column B. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to add, some of the sentences need to be passive, okay? And in order for them to be passive, they need to have the verb be, right? So what you're going to do is, if it's possible, you're going to add was or were. All of the verbs that they include are regular verbs, which means that you can't, the verb to and verb 3 are identical. They're the same, right? So if it's not passive and it's the simple past, then you would just have the verb alone, right? And that would be verb 2. If it is passive, then it would be verb 3 and you need to include was or were, right? The verb be for the simple past. All right, we'll do, I'll do 1 and 2 for you, and then I'll do 3 as well, actually. And then I'll ask you to stop the video, complete the rest, and then check, okay? So number 1, right? Alexander Eiffel, and then that was H, designed the Eiffel Tower, right? So Alexander Eiffel, do you think he is the actor of design, or is he the person who did the designing, or did he receive the action? Did the Eiffel Tower design Alexander Eiffel? No, right? We know a man whose last name was Eiffel designed, or he was the architect or the engineer or whatever of the Eiffel Tower. Okay, so this would be the active voice. Okay, so I would just leave designed alone, right? Anwar Sadat shot in 1981. Okay, so did he shoot someone or did someone shoot him? Actually, to be honest, I don't really know about the history of this guy. His name sounds like he's from a Middle Eastern country. Maybe you know. If you know, tell me in the WhatsApp group. But let's see, what did I put? He was shot in 1981, right? Yeah, I guess someone killed him that way. Okay, what about number 3? Princess Diana. It's going to match with A, right? Killed in a car crash in 1997. Okay, so did Princess Diana kill someone else? Was she the actor of the verb, or did she receive the action? Did something kill her? Princess Diana was killed in a car crash in 1997. Okay, so I'm going to ask you right now to pause the video and complete 4 through 10, matching the sentences and adding was or were if you need to. Okay, so pause and then come back when you're ready. I know you missed my winks. It's perfect as a video. You can watch it like 5 times a day. All right. Are you ready? Are you back? All right, I missed you. Welcome back. Okay, so Marie and Pierre Curie discovered radium. Oil was discovered in beautiful Saudi Arabia in 1938. Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. were arrested several times for peaceful protests. Michael Jackson died in 2009. Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. Nelson Mandela was released from prison in 1990. Okay, so for any of these, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to message me, okay, on the group. I know normally when we do these in class, people get a little bit confused with these, okay, and I'm more than happy to explain to you, all right? Okay, so we're going to move on and look at 10.4. So my question to you is, do we always need the by phrase, right? If you watched the beginning of the video, you will know that no, we do not always need the by phrase, right? It is not necessary. In fact, sometimes it sounds weird. We don't need the by phrase if we don't care who performed the action, right? Sometimes it's important to know who performed the action, but sometimes it's not really important to know. For example, if I say my aunt made this sweater, this is sentence A, my aunt made this sweater, versus people in Korea made this sweater, okay? Now, I think I think it's like more interesting, right? If you know that this sweater that I'm wearing came from my aunt, she was the creator of it, right? That's interesting. People in Korea or people in Bangladesh or people in wherever they made your sweater, right? If you don't know the person, you don't really care who made it, right? So if I say this sweater was made by my aunt, that's conveying useful information. So I would say this. But if I say this sweater was made by people in Korea, it's kind of unnecessary, right? It's extra information that's really obvious as well. Obviously, people made your sweater, right? But it's much better to say it like this. The sweater was made in Korea. We also have the example, this cake was made, right? This sounds kind of strange. This cake was made by my grandmother, or this cake was made by, you know, the best bakery in town, or something like this, right? Then it's valuable information, okay? But if I say, for example, this cake was made by a factory, that's strange, right? Similarly, okay, how about this example? The police arrested Jill, right? She wasn't following curfew. For example, she went for coffee in Jazan at 9 p.m. and she got arrested, right? Okay, so if the police arrested Jill, right? Besides the police, who else has the power to arrest Jill? Who can arrest? Only the police, right? So if I say Jill was arrested by the police, it's kind of excess information. If I just say Jill was arrested, I think you automatically know who the actor was, right? So you don't need to say by the police. It's just kind of, it's redundant, as we say. It's saying something again, basically, because it's obvious, right, that it was the police. Okay, we already did this example too. Someone built this house in 1950. Who cares, right? Obviously someone built this house. It would be much better to say this house was built in 1950, not this house was built by someone in 1950, right? Once again, people make Toyotas in Japan. Toyotas are made in Japan. We don't care about the people who make them, okay? It's not relevant or important information. So we have more examples of these, right? The sweater was made by my aunt. My aunt is important information. The sweater was made in Korea. Spanish is spoken in Colombia. That house was built in 1940. Rice is grown in many countries, right? All of these are examples of we don't really need to know, or we don't care, or maybe it's obvious that it was someone who did these actions, right? We don't need to include the actor with the by phrase. Okay, so let's practice with this. Exercise 12 on page 265. I will ask you to pause the video and you are going to convert the sentences from the active voice to the passive voice. All of these are active. You're going to convert them to the passive voice. And if you need to, include the by phrase. But if you don't need to, don't include it. Okay, so please pause the video, complete 1 through 10, goes on to the next page, and then we will check. Okay. All right, are you back? Welcome back. All right, so number 1, they already did for you, right? It says, Bob Smith built that house. So maybe Bob Smith is my friend, right? Or someone who's interesting, or maybe he's the person that I'm thinking of hiring to build another house, right? So I think we would include this, right? That house was built by Bob Smith, okay? But in number 2, someone built that house in 1904. Oh wait, hold on, I think my cake is burning. I'm making a carrot cake. I'm gonna go turn off the oven really quick, 1 second. Ding! Okay. So someone built that house in 1904. We don't care about someone, right? So we would just say that house was built in 1904, right? Okay, people grow rice in India. What do you say? Rice is grown in India, okay? Do people speak Spanish in Peru? Is Spanish spoken in Peru? Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. The telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell. For inventions and things like that, I think it's important to know, right? When did someone invent the first computer? All right, so if we don't know the name of the person, then it's probably not really important, right? So we would just say, when was the first computer invented? People sell hammers at a hardware store. You guys know what a hammer is? Hammer is the thing that if you have a nail, you like bang, 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 pound it into wood if you're gonna like build a house or a table or something, right? People sell hammers at a hardware store. Hammers are sold at a hardware store. Has anyone ever hypnotized you? Have you ever been hypnotized? Someone published The Origin of Species in 1959. The Origin of Species was published in 1859. Oh dear. And Charles Darwin wrote The Origin of Species. Now this is the author. This is probably more important information. So we would say The Origin of Species was written by Charles Darwin. Okay. So I think, okay. Yeah, let's take a look at exercise 13. I wonder if I can go back. I think I canceled or I skipped through the practice. It's okay. All right, so exercise 13. They want you to underline the passive verbs in each pair and then answer the question. So I'm just going to go through and we're going to look at all of these together, okay? So number 1, it says the mail is usually delivered to Hamid's apartment around 10 o'clock. The mail carrier usually delivers the mail to Hamid's apartment around 10 o'clock. All right, so we have 2 sentences, A and B, okay? So here's the question. Is it important to know who delivers the mail? No, right? It is obvious that it's the mail carrier, right? Or the postman or something like that. The mailman, we say in America. So it's not important to know. So which sentence is more common? If you said sentence A, the mail is usually delivered to his apartment at 10 o'clock, you're correct, okay? All right, number 2, 2A, construction workers built our school in the late 1980s. Our school was built in the 1980s. All right, so here's the question. Is it important to know who built the school, especially if the builders were just regular construction workers? No, it's not, right? Obviously. Like, who else would it be, okay? And which sentence is more common, A or B? The answer is B, right? It is much more common it would be much more common to just say our school was built in the 1980s, okay? All right, number 3. We have 3 sentences. That office building was designed in 1990. That office building was designed by an architect in 1990. And that office building was designed by my husband in 1990. Okay? So, which additional information do the by phrases provide? So, which sentences have by phrases? B and C, right? The by phrase lets us know who performed the action, who designed the buildings, right? Which sentence has important information with the by phrase? The answer here is C, right? By my husband. Obviously, like, who else besides architects can design buildings? No one, right? So I wouldn't add that extra information like, oh yeah, this was designed by an architect in 1990. Now, if I'm saying my husband, that's unique information, that's specific information. So I would sentence C, the office was designed by my husband in 1990, that would be useful information, right? So we would say that, but we would not say B, okay? All right, last one. 4A. Thailand means land of the free, okay? And then B, the country of Thailand has never been ruled by a foreign power, okay? So, by the way, what does it mean if a country is ruled by a foreign power, right? Can you think of a country that was ruled by a foreign power before? India, for example, the government was controlled by the British. My country, America, was ruled first by the Dutch, right? People from the Netherlands. And then England, the British took over, and then we kicked them out. And we decided to rule ourselves, right? So let's look at the question, okay? It says, what happens to the meaning of the second sentence if there is no by phrase, okay? The country of Thailand has never been ruled versus the country of Thailand has never been ruled by a foreign power. If I say the country of Thailand has never been ruled, what does this mean? This means that they've never had any government, right? Is that true? No, they have a king now and they've had a king for a long time, right? For many years. So that changes the meaning. So here we would definitely need the by phrase because this adds really valuable information, right? This means that no other country has controlled Thailand, right? That happened a lot in Africa. Many African countries were ruled by a foreign power. Many South American countries were ruled by a foreign power. Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos, I think, were all ruled by France as well, other Asian countries. But Thailand, no. Thailand has never been ruled by a foreign power. They've only been ruled by their own people. Okay? Okay, so you have homework, right? Your homework is going to be in your student book, so same page basically, 266, exercise 14, and 267 and 268, exercise 16. So both of these exercises are reviews of everything we've covered in chapter 10 so far, all right? So I've noticed up until now, there have not been a lot of views on these amazing YouTube videos. I don't know why. I expected to be, to go like viral within the first week, but you guys aren't watching the videos, I know. So I have to test you guys and give you guys practice, okay? And I'm going to be checking these and to see how well you're absorbing this information because this is tricky, okay? So exercise 14, they give you the subject, they give you the verb, and sometimes they give you an object, and you have to put the sentences into the correct form, active or passive, okay? And then in exercise 16, they have just blanks. They give you the verb that you need to use, and you have to choose the correct form, once again, active or passive, okay? And then also, of course, if you have time, I just messaged you guys on WhatsApp that we're going to have a quiz next week on Monday on chapter 7. So, and then we're also going to be you're going to be quizzed and you're going to be assessed actually on chapter 10 as well. And your chapter 10 quiz is going to be, I think, like 20% of your final grade. Okay, so it's really important if you guys find that, obviously you can contact me at any time if you find that you're confused with this. Obviously ask questions. If you guys feel like you prefer to have live classes, if you absorb the information better that way, also let me know and we can switch it up, okay? We were just having problems with connectivity, so I wanted to make sure that I was presenting the information in a way that was accessible to most people, because maybe even you're having connectivity issues as well. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, you guys can watch these lectures if they're on YouTube again and again and again, right? All right, so please do this homework. It is due Saturday at midnight, okay? So before Sunday morning, right? 12, so I guess like 12 a.m. Sunday morning, right? So you have all the weekend to do it, okay? And it will be graded. All right, guys. Thanks. I miss you. I hope you guys are all doing well. And have a great rest of your week. All right. Bye.